I discovered my wife cheating in our bathroom, so I attacked the man and ended up arrested. Later, my own son testified against me in court, claiming I was abusive. Years later, he started cheating too, and now both he and my wife want my money. I'm using a throwaway account because people know my main one. I'm 45, male, married to my wife, Laura, 42, female, for 18 years. We have a 19-year-old son, Ethan, born before we got married, who's now in his second year of college. I inherited my house from my grandmother 5 years before our marriage, so it's been in my family for generations. On Wednesday, I decided to surprise Laura by returning early from a business trip. I was supposed to be away until Friday, but my meetings ended early. I stopped by a florist and bought her favorite lilies. I pulled into our driveway around 2 p.m. and noticed an unfamiliar car. I assumed it might belong to one of Laura's friends or a neighbor's guest. I unlocked the front door and called out, "Sweetheart, I'm home early." No answer. I heard the shower running upstairs. I went to the kitchen, arranged the flowers in a vase, and was about to head upstairs to surprise her when I heard voices. 2 voices. A man's voice I didn't recognize, and Laura laughing in a way I hadn't heard in years. I stood frozen for about 30 seconds, listening, hoping I was mistaken, but the voices grew clearer as I approached our bedroom. The bathroom door was slightly ajar, and through the frosted shower glass, I saw 2 figures. I don't recall deciding to open the door. Everything after that is hazy. I flung the shower door open, and there was Laura with a man, probably in his mid-30s. Dark hair, muscular, stark naked. The guy, later identified as Nathan, raised his hands and stammered, "Hey man, let me explain." Laura screamed and grabbed a towel. I yelled at him to get out of my house. He said he'd just grab his clothes and leave, no trouble. But something in me broke. Maybe it was his calm demeanor, like this was just a minor inconvenience. Maybe it was because he was in my shower, in the house my grandmother left me. I grabbed his shoulders and slammed him against the bathroom wall. Hard. He pushed back, so I punched him. Then I hit him again. Laura was screaming for me to stop. Nathan was on the floor, shielding his face, blood dripping from his nose. The blood snapped me out of it. I stepped back and gave him 5 minutes to leave before I called the cops. He grabbed his clothes and bolted, still bleeding, barely dressed. Laura ran after him. Now she's calling me unhinged and violent, staying at her sister's place. She says I could have killed him and claims she's scared of me. She's threatening divorce and a restraining order. Ethan called me yesterday, saying his mom told him everything. He said he's ashamed of me for attacking an innocent man. When I explained that Nathan was with his mother, he said that didn't justify assault. I know I shouldn't have hit him, but I found a stranger in my shower with my wife. In my house. I think most people would have reacted the same way. My brother says I should have called the police, but what could they have done? It's not illegal to sleep with someone's wife if she agrees. Update. Things have gone from bad to catastrophic. I'm writing this from a motel because I'm locked out of my own home. Nathan pressed charges. I was arrested Friday morning at work. 2 officers showed up at 10 a.m. during a client meeting. They were professional, but there's no hiding an arrest at work. My boss had to explain to clients why the meeting was canceled. I spent Friday night in jail until my lawyer got me out on bail. Assault in the 3rd degree, a misdemeanor, but it could mean up to a year in jail and a $4,000 fine if convicted. Bail was $2,500. While I was locked up, Laura got a temporary restraining order. She claimed I had a history of controlling and aggressive behavior and feared for her safety. This is nonsense. I've never touched Laura in 18 years of marriage, never even yelled at her before this. The restraining order bars me from being within 100 yards of her, including my own house since she's staying there. When I got out Saturday morning, I drove home to find the locks changed. My key didn't work. A police car was parked across the street, ensuring I didn't violate the order. I called my lawyer right away. He said since the house is mine, with the deed in my name, we can fight this, but it'll take time. The restraining order lasts 2 weeks until a hearing decides if it's permanent. For now, I'm legally banned from my own property. I'm in a motel living out of the suitcase from my business trip, which I hadn't unpacked. I can't access my clothes, mail, or belongings. Laura won't answer my calls or texts. When I called the house, she picked up and hung up immediately. The worst part is Ethan came home from college this weekend and is staying with her. I texted him asking to meet for coffee, and he replied, "Mom showed me the police report. I can't believe you're my dad. Don't contact me until you address your anger issues." What anger issues? I've never had them. The only time I've been violent was when I found Nathan in my shower. Yet I'm the one painted as crazy. My lawyer says the restraining order is likely temporary since there's no evidence of domestic violence or threats against Laura. She'd need to prove a pattern of abuse, which she can't because it doesn't exist. But he warned that this could drag on for months, especially if she files for divorce. I had to tell my boss about the arrest. He was supportive but said if this leads to a conviction or impacts my work with clients, we'd need to discuss my role. I've been at the company 12 years with no issues, and now my job is at risk because I caught my wife cheating. The financial toll is brutal. Between the lawyer, bail, and motel, I've spent over $8,000. I'm still paying the mortgage on the house I can't live in, plus credit cards and Ethan's tuition. Laura has access to our joint accounts and could drain them while I'm stuck covering everything else. I feel punished for being the victim. She cheats in my house, yet I'm the one arrested and homeless while she plays the victim. Comment 1. This is why you should have called the cops instead of getting physical. Your wife is using your reaction against you, and now she's got the legal upper hand. Document everything and follow your lawyer's advice to the letter. Don't do anything that could violate the restraining order, even if it feels unfair. Op reply, I regret hitting Nathan every day, but everyone saying call the police acts like they'd do something. For what? He was there because Laura invited him. It's not trespassing if she allowed it. The cops would have called it a civil matter and left. I know I messed up legally, but finding your wife cheating in your home isn't a moment for clear thinking. I reacted, and now I'm paying for it while the guy who was with my wife gets to play victim. What bothers me is how easy it was for her to get the restraining order. She told the court she's scared, and just like that, I'm locked out of my house. No due process, no need to prove I threatened or harmed her. I hit someone else, not her, but somehow I'm a danger to her. My lawyer says judges are cautious with domestic violence claims, which I get, but this isn't domestic violence. Laura's using the system to gain leverage in what's clearly going to be a nasty divorce. Comment 2. Start preparing for divorce now. Track every expense you're covering while locked out. Get records of the mortgage, utilities, insurance, everything. Also, monitor any money she spends from joint accounts during this separation. Op reply, I'm already on it. I set up alerts on our joint accounts to track every transaction. I can't freeze them without a court order, but I can see what she's spending. So far, it's just normal stuff like groceries and gas. I'm also documenting my expenses. Motel at $89 a night, food since I can't cook, parking fees for lawyer meetings. It's piling up fast. My lawyer says if the restraining order is deemed baseless, I might recover some costs from her. The mortgage is the biggest issue, $2,400 a month plus taxes and insurance. I'm paying for a house I can't live in while covering motel costs. If this drags on, it could ruin me financially. Laura knows this. She's probably banking on me running out of money and settling for a bad divorce deal to stop the bleeding. After 18 years of marriage, I know how she operates when she wants something. She's always been good at exploiting weaknesses. Comment 3. Have you considered that Ethan might genuinely be worried about your behavior, not just siding with his mom? His world's been flipped upside down, and now his dad's facing assault charges. Maybe reach out through a relative instead of contacting him directly. Op reply, I've thought about it, but Ethan won't hear my side. He's 19, not a child. He's smart enough to know there are two sides to every story, but he's only listening to Laura's version. What stings is he called me father in his text, not dad. We've always been close. I coached his soccer teams, taught him to drive, helped with college applications. Now he's treating me like a stranger who just shares his DNA. I tried reaching out through my brother, but Ethan's ignoring his calls too. Laura's convinced him I'm dangerous. I don't know what she told him, but he's acting like I'm an abusive monster. The thing is, Ethan's never seen me violent because I've never been violent before this. It was a one-time reaction. But instead of thinking, Dad must have been devastated to act like that, he's thinking, I never knew Dad could be violent. I get that he's probably scared and confused, but I'm his father. I deserve a chance to explain. Update 2. The restraining order hearing was 3 weeks ago, and it was a real wake-up call. The judge dismissed the order, but what happened in court changed my relationship with Ethan forever. The good news. My lawyer was right. Laura couldn't prove any junior. We had Laura's credit card and bank records going back 8 months, showing over $7,000 spent on hotels, restaurants, and gifts during her affair. Not just local hotels. There were charges for weekend trips to Chicago, Milwaukee, and a long weekend in Minneapolis. Hotel costs alone were $7,800 at high-end places like the Pfister and the Drake, $300, $400 a night, plus $4,200 on fancy dinners for $2,000 and $3,000 at jewelry and men's clothing stores. My lawyer also got her phone records, showing hundreds of calls and texts to Nathan's number over 8 months, matching the spending timeline. Laura's lawyer argued this was irrelevant to whether I was a threat to her safety. The judge disagreed, saying the affair provided context for my reaction. The restraining order was lifted and I got my house back, but here's the gut punch. Ethan testified for his mother. My own son stood in court and lied under oath. He claimed I was controlling and emotionally abusive throughout his childhood. He said I monitored all household communication and made major decisions without consulting Laura. He told the judge I had a temper and he feared upsetting me growing up. This is absolute nonsense and Ethan knows it. Yes, we had rules about his phone and internet when he was a teen. That's called parenting. And yes, I handled finances and home repairs. But Laura always said she didn't want to deal with those and was fine with me taking charge. The worst was when he said he felt relieved leaving for college because he no longer had to tiptoe around me. This from the kid who called me every Sunday from school to talk about his life. My lawyer cross-examined him, asking for specific incidents of violence or abuse. Ethan couldn't name one, which weakened his testimony. When asked if I'd ever hit him or Laura, he admitted I hadn't but said abuse isn't always physical. The judge wasn't convinced. She said family testimony matters, but she needed evidence of threats or violence toward Laura, not vague claims about family dynamics. That's when my lawyer presented our evidence. The judge ruled that while my assault on Nathan was wrong, it was a one-time incident, not a pattern of violence against Laura. The restraining order was dissolved, but Laura filed for divorce immediately. She's demanding spousal support, half the house's value despite it being my inheritance and half of our other assets. Her divorce lawyer is still using the assault charge, claiming I'm too unstable for financial decisions, and that Laura needs protection from my erratic behavior. My criminal lawyer says the assault charge will likely be reduced to disorderly conduct with probation and anger management classes. The hardest part is Ethan. Outside the courthouse, I asked why he lied for his mother. He said he wasn't lying, that this was how he felt growing up. I told him rules and responsibilities aren't abuse, and every decision I made was for our family. He said that's what an abuser would say, and that he's proud of his mom for standing up to me. We haven't spoken since. He's staying with Laura at her sister's, and they've blocked my number. My brother says I should try to fix things with Ethan, but how do you recover from your son accusing you of abuse in court? The divorce will be ugly. I'm back in my house, but it doesn't feel like home anymore. Sometimes I wonder if I should have just walked away when I caught them and filed for divorce quietly. Update 3. The divorce was finalized last week, and I got a much better deal than expected. The judge saw through Laura's false claims of abuse and control, and the evidence of her affair tipped the scales. Laura got almost nothing. The judge ruled the house is mine as inherited property. Laura claimed she deserved compensation for renovations we made, but my lawyer proved most major upgrades, kitchen, basement, new roof, were funded by my income, not joint funds. She got $12,000 for her contributions. For other assets, the judge divided things based on contribution and behavior. Laura got her car, personal items, and $25,000 from our savings. I kept my car, retirement accounts, and everything else. No spousal support because of her adultery and ability to work. She has a degree in work history, so the judge said she can support herself. Laura's lawyer argued she needed more money because she was financially dependent for years. The judge laughed, saying someone who spent $15,000 on her boyfriend clearly knows how to handle money. Laura lost it when the ruling came down, crying that it wasn't fair, claiming she sacrificed her career for our family. That's a lie. She worked part-time by choice and quit 3 years ago because she was fed up with office drama, not because I forced her. The judge noted that adultery has consequences, and that using marital funds for an affair was a major breach of trust. She told Laura she could appeal, but the evidence was clear, and the ruling followed state guidelines for fault-based divorces. Ethan was in court for the final hearing, still backing his mother. When the judge announced the decision, he stood up and shouted, "This is unfair. She has nowhere to go." The bailiff made him sit down. After the hearing, Ethan followed me to the parking lot, yelling that I was ruining his mother's life and heartless for leaving her with nothing. I told him Laura ruined her own life by cheating. He said a real man would support his ex-wife no matter what. I lost my patience. I told him a real son wouldn't lie in court to help his cheating mother, and if he wanted to live in her victim fantasy, he could support her himself. He said he'd help her but has no money as a college student. I told him he'd have even less now because I'm done paying his tuition and expenses. If he chooses his mother over me, he can pay for college himself. Ethan was stunned, like he never considered his actions might have consequences. He said he couldn't afford school without my help. I told him to get a job like other students or figure out how to repair our relationship. He asked what that would take, and I said he'd need to admit he lied in court and publicly apologize for slandering me. He insisted he didn't lie, just shared his perspective on our family. I said his perspective nearly cost me my home and financial security, and I'm not interested in his rewritten history. I've been living alone in my house for months, and it's honestly peaceful. No drama, no tension, no wondering what Laura's doing when she's out. I eat what I want, watch what I want, and answer to no one. My brother thinks I'm too harsh on Ethan, that he's just a kid caught in a messy situation. But I disagree. Ethan chose to actively try to ruin me financially and legally. His age doesn't excuse lying under oath. Laura's been reaching out through mutual friends, asking for help with housing. Some suggest I loan her money for an apartment deposit for Ethan's sake. But I owe Laura nothing, and Ethan picked his side. I worked hard for 18 years to provide for my family, and they both threw it back in my face when it suited them. Now they can build their own lives without me. Final update. It's been 2 years, and I never expected to write another update, but karma seems to have more in store for my family. Ethan got married last September to his college girlfriend, Sophie. I wasn't invited to the wedding, obviously, since we haven't spoken since the divorce. I heard about it from my brother, who got word from a relative. Laura borrowed money to pay for the wedding, trying to appear financially stable. Sophie seemed like a great girl when I met her once before everything fell apart. Bright, studying finance from a solid family. I thought Ethan was fortunate to have her, but apparently he didn't value her. 3 weeks ago, Sophie discovered Ethan was cheating with a married woman he met through Laura. Laura finally got a job, and Ethan started hanging around her workplace. He met this woman, Rachel, about 35, married with 2 kids. The affair came to light when Rachel's husband found texts on her phone. He confronted her, she confessed, and he messaged Sophie directly on Facebook to tell her. Ethan had been spending money they didn't have on hotels and dinners with Rachel, just like his mother did with Nathan. Sophie kicked him out immediately, filed for divorce within a week, and moved in with her parents. She drained their joint account and threw her wedding ring at Ethan's face in his apartment complex parking lot. Here's where it gets relevant to me. Ethan called me 2 weeks ago, sobbing, begging for help. He said Sophie took everything and he can't afford his apartment or car payments. He said he made a mistake and now understands what I went through with Laura. He asked if I'd help pay for a divorce lawyer and cover rent until he's stable. I asked if he was calling to apologize for lying about me in court. He said that was different because he was protecting his mother. I told him to call back when he's ready to admit he lied and ask for forgiveness, then hung up. Laura called the next day. She's struggling financially, too. Her job pays poorly since she's new and lacks a client base. Her sister's husband finally kicked her out, so she's in a weekly motel costing $300 a week. She asked if I'd loan her money for an apartment deposit and first month's rent. I asked why I'd do that, and she said for our family and because Ethan needs stability during his divorce. I laughed and said Ethan made his choice when he testified against me, and she made hers when she slept with Nathan in my shower. She cried, saying she knows she messed up but that I'm being cruel and vindictive. She called the affair a mistake that went too far. I told her spending $7,000 on another man wasn't a mistake. It was a deliberate choice made daily for months. Then she said something that infuriated me. She said helping them now would prove I'm the bigger person and have truly forgiven them. As if forgiveness means funding their lives after they tried to ruin mine. I told her forgiveness doesn't mean enabling bad decisions, and I'm not interested in being the bigger person. I said I hope she and Ethan figure out how to live with their choices, just as I had to with mine. Ethan has called 3 more times since, sounding increasingly desperate. He's behind on rent and his car is about to be repossessed. He dropped out of college because he couldn't afford it without my help, and now works at a pizza place for $12 an hour. In his last call, he finally said he was sorry for testifying against me, but claimed he believed his mother and thought he was doing the right thing. I told him that wasn't an apology for lying, it was an excuse. There's a difference. Sophie reached out to me on Facebook a few weeks ago. She apologized for not seeing through Ethan and Laura's lies during the divorce. She said her own divorce helped her understand the pain of betrayal by those you trust. The bottom line is I'm done with both of them. They're adults who made their choices and now face the consequences. I spent too many years enabling Laura's behavior and fixing Ethan's problems. I'm not their safety net anymore. They burned that bridge when they tried to destroy my life in court. So, what are your thoughts on this story? Do you agree with what happened, or do you see it differently? Let us know your opinion in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any of our upcoming stories. See you in the next one.